The enemy guards laughed as they threw Captain Elena "Viper" Delacroix into the prison camp. Just another captured pilot. 3 days later, she was flying their own attack helicopter, hunting the same guards through the forest they thought would be her grave. Meet Captain Elena Delacroix, 32 years old, dark brown hair usually braided in military regulation style, steel gray eyes that had logged over 2,500 flight hours in the most dangerous combat zones on Earth. For 7 years, she'd been flying Apache attack helicopters with exceptional skill, but to her captors, she was just another American prisoner who would break under interrogation and provide valuable intelligence about military operations. Elena's path to becoming one of the most feared helicopter pilots in the U.S. Army had begun in Louisiana, where her father, a retired Army aviator, had taught her that helicopter combat wasn't just about flying. It was about thinking in 3 dimensions while making split-second decisions that could determine the outcome of entire battles. Her performance during advanced combat training had been particularly noteworthy in scenarios that required independent problem-solving under extreme stress. Elena consistently demonstrated the ability to analyze complex tactical situations and implement innovative solutions that other student pilots hadn't considered, showing creative thinking that impressed instructors with decades of combat experience. Elena's call sign Viper had been earned during her 3rd deployment to Afghanistan, when she had conducted a solo attack on an enemy compound that was holding American prisoners. Her precision strikes and tactical maneuvering had been so devastating that enemy forces described her helicopter as a venomous snake that struck without warning and disappeared into the sky. The Afghanistan operation had required Elena to penetrate heavily defended airspace using terrain masking and low-level flying techniques that pushed Apache capabilities to their absolute limits. Her success had demonstrated understanding of helicopter combat that exceeded standard training and proved her ability to innovate under pressure. Over 7 years of combat operations, Elena had flown 342 combat missions and accumulated experience in close air support, tactical transport, and precision attack operations that made her one of the most versatile helicopter pilots in the Army. Her innovations in low-level flying techniques and weapons delivery had been studied by other aviators and incorporated into training protocols. Elena's approach to helicopter combat emphasized understanding the engineering principles that governed aircraft performance, allowing her to extract maximum capability from her aircraft while adapting to tactical situations that challenged conventional procedures. Her mechanical engineering background gave her insights that purely operational pilots often lacked. Her combat record included operations in some of the most contested airspace in the world, where enemy surface-to-air missiles and advanced fighter aircraft created environments that required split-second decision-making and perfect execution of defensive maneuvers. Elena's survival rate had been 100%, with 0 aircraft losses during missions under her command. But Elena's expertise would be tested in ways she had never imagined when her Apache helicopter was shot down during a reconnaissance mission deep in enemy territory. Surface-to-air missiles had damaged her aircraft's main rotor system, forcing her to attempt an emergency landing in hostile terrain while under heavy ground fire. The mission that led to her capture had been planned as routine intelligence gathering along enemy supply routes, but intelligence reports had failed to identify the sophisticated air defense systems that enemy forces had recently installed. Elena's helicopter had been conducting low-level surveillance when multiple missile launches had overwhelmed her defensive countermeasures. The surface-to-air missile system that engaged Elena's Apache had been recently deployed using intelligence gathered from previous American operations. Enemy forces had studied American helicopter tactics and positioned their defenses specifically to counter low-level reconnaissance flights that relied on terrain masking for protection. Her co-pilot, Lieutenant Marcus Johnson, had been killed during the missile attack, leaving Elena to attempt a controlled crash landing while wounded and under continuous enemy fire. Her piloting skills had saved her life, but the forced landing had left her stranded in territory controlled by enemy forces who specialized in capturing American military personnel. Elena's emergency landing had been executed using auto-rotation techniques that required perfect timing and exceptional flying skills. Despite taking shrapnel wounds from the missile explosion and losing her co-pilot, she had managed to bring her damaged Apache down in a clearing that provided minimal protection from enemy ground forces converging on her position. The crash site had been quickly surrounded by enemy soldiers who understood the value of capturing an American helicopter pilot alive. Elena's survival gear and emergency protocols had provided limited defensive capabilities, but she was outnumbered and wounded in hostile territory with no immediate prospect of rescue. Commander Dmitry Volkov was the officer responsible for the prison camp where Elena and other captured Americans were held. At 45 years old, with 15 years of experience in psychological interrogation and prisoner management, he operated the facility with brutal efficiency, designed to break the will of captured soldiers and extract valuable military intelligence. Volkov had built his reputation on successfully interrogating captured American pilots and special operations personnel, using techniques that combined physical deprivation with psychological pressure to force prisoners to reveal classified information about military operations, aircraft capabilities, and strategic planning. Volkov's interrogation methods had been developed through extensive study of American military training and psychological profiles. His approach was designed to exploit the specific vulnerabilities that helicopter pilots might possess, including their technical knowledge of aircraft systems and their understanding of tactical procedures. The prison camp was located deep in forested mountains, surrounded by natural barriers that made escape extremely difficult and conventional rescue operations nearly impossible. The facility was designed to hold high-value prisoners who possessed intelligence that could significantly impact ongoing military operations. The compound had been constructed using defensive principles that accounted for potential American rescue attempts, including sophisticated early warning systems, concealed defensive positions, and communication networks that could coordinate rapid response to any external threats. "Just another captured pilot," Volkov had said dismissively when Elena was brought to his compound. "She will provide useful information about American helicopter operations, then serve as a bargaining chip for prisoner exchanges." Elena's initial interrogation had focused on her knowledge of Apache helicopter systems, tactical procedures, and base security measures. Volkov's techniques were designed to gradually break down psychological resistance while gathering intelligence that could be used against American forces. But Elena had undergone extensive survival, evasion, resistance, and escape training that prepared her for exactly this type of situation. Her responses to interrogation had been limited to name, rank, and serial number, while she carefully observed the camp's security procedures and defensive weaknesses. During her 3 days in captivity, Elena had been conducting covert reconnaissance of the prison facility, while Volkov's guards assumed she was simply recovering from the trauma of being shot down and captured. Every interaction with guards provided information about their routines, equipment, and the overall security structure of the compound. Her mechanical engineering background gave her insights into the camp's infrastructure that other prisoners couldn't recognize. Elena understood how power systems, communication equipment, and defensive installations operated, providing her with knowledge that could be exploited during an escape attempt. More importantly, Elena's helicopter pilot training had taught her to think tactically about terrain, defensive positions, and the capabilities of various military aircraft. She could hear helicopter patrols conducting security sweeps around the prison camp, and her experience allowed her to identify aircraft types, flight patterns, and operational procedures. Elena's analysis of enemy helicopter operations revealed that they were using modified Mi-24 Hinds with predictable patrol schedules and minimal security awareness. Their pilots followed established flight routes and landing procedures that prioritized efficiency over defensive precautions, creating opportunities that could be exploited by someone with advanced tactical knowledge. The prison compound's security was designed to prevent escape attempts by infantry personnel. But the planners hadn't considered the possibility that a captured helicopter pilot might understand how to turn enemy aircraft into weapons against their own forces. On the morning of her fourth day in captivity, Elena learned from other prisoners that a coordinated escape attempt was being planned by a group of captured Special Forces soldiers who had been imprisoned for several weeks. The plan involved overpowering guards during a shift change and attempting to reach friendly territory through the dense forests surrounding the camp. Sergeant First Class Kevin Thompson was the senior American prisoner who had been organizing escape preparations since his capture 3 weeks earlier. His Special Forces training had provided him with survival skills and tactical knowledge that made him the natural leader among the captured soldiers. Thompson's escape plan had been developed using conventional special operations doctrine that emphasized stealth, evasion, and survival techniques designed for personnel operating behind enemy lines. His approach was tactically sound, but didn't account for the helicopter assets that enemy forces would deploy to hunt escaped prisoners. "Captain Delacroix," Thompson had whispered during a brief opportunity for communication, "we're moving tonight during the guard shift change. The forest is thick enough to provide concealment, but enemy patrols will be hunting us with helicopters and tracking dogs." Elena had analyzed the tactical situation and understood that conventional escape on foot would likely fail against enemy forces who controlled the terrain and possessed air support capabilities. Her helicopter pilot experience provided insights that infantry training couldn't address. "Sergeant, enemy helicopters will have thermal imaging and can track us from above, even in thick forest cover. Running on foot gives us maybe 6 hours before they corner us in terrain of their choosing." Thompson looked at the pilot, who was suggesting that conventional escape tactics might be insufficient. "Captain, what are you thinking?" Elena had been observing enemy helicopter operations for 3 days, noting flight patterns, aircraft types, and security procedures that revealed weaknesses she could exploit. "I'm thinking we need to level the playing field. Instead of running from their helicopters, what if we took one?" The concept of capturing an enemy helicopter during a prison break was so unconventional that Thompson initially assumed Elena was joking. But her detailed knowledge of helicopter operations and tactical capabilities convinced him that such an approach might be their only chance for successful escape. "Captain, even if we could capture a helicopter, do you know how to fly enemy aircraft?" Elena's engineering background and extensive flight experience had taught her that helicopters operated on similar principles regardless of their country of origin. While control layouts and specific systems might differ, the fundamental principles of rotary wing flight were universal. "Sergeant, I've been studying their patrol patterns for 3 days. They use modified Me-24 Hinds with predictable flight routes and minimal security awareness. If we can get to one during landing, I can fly it out of here." The escape plan that Elena and Thompson developed was unlike anything attempted in conventional prisoner of war scenarios. Instead of simply fleeing the camp, they would conduct a tactical operation designed to capture enemy aircraft and use it to extract all American prisoners while neutralizing the facility's capability to hold future captives. Their plan required precise timing, coordinated action, and the ability to adapt to rapidly changing tactical circumstances. Elena's helicopter expertise would be combined with Thompson's special operations training to create an approach that enemy forces wouldn't anticipate or counter effectively. That evening, as guard shifts changed and security attention was focused on routine procedures, Elena and Thompson led 12 other Americans prisoners in a coordinated assault on the prison camp's perimeter defenses. Their objective wasn't immediate escape. It was positioning themselves to intercept the enemy helicopter that conducted regular evening patrol flights. The timing had to be perfect. Elena's analysis of enemy flight patterns indicated that patrol helicopters landed at a designated area near the camp to refuel and coordinate with ground forces. This provided a brief window when the aircraft would be vulnerable to ground assault by prisoners who understood helicopter operations. As the escape began, camp alarms activated and enemy forces responded according to standard security protocols. But Elena had anticipated their reactions, using her understanding of tactical procedures to predict how enemy commanders would deploy their forces to contain the prison break. "All prisoners are attempting to escape through the eastern perimeter. came the radio transmission that Elena and Thompson intercepted using captured communication equipment. Deploy helicopter support to track fleeing Americans and coordinate with ground pursuit teams. The enemy's tactical response was exactly what Elena had predicted. They were treating the situation as a conventional prison break, deploying aircraft to hunt fleeing prisoners rather than defending against the possibility that their own helicopter might become a target. 20 minutes after the escape began, Elena heard the distinctive sound of an approaching Mi-24 Hind attack helicopter, conducting tactical reconnaissance of the area where enemy forces expected to find fleeing American prisoners. But instead of fleeing, Elena and Thompson were positioning their team to intercept the aircraft during its planned refueling stop. Viper, this is Thompson. Enemy helicopter approaching from the northwest, approximately 2 minutes to landing zone. Elena checked the captured weapons and equipment that their team had acquired during the initial assault on camp defenses. Copy, Thompson. Remember, we need to take the helicopter intact. No damage to flight systems, or we're all walking home through enemy territory. The Mi-24 Hind landed at the designated refueling area with normal security procedures, its crew expecting to coordinate with ground forces about pursuing escaped prisoners rather than defending against an assault on their own aircraft. The pilot and co-pilot were conducting post-flight checks when Elena's team emerged from concealed positions surrounding the landing zone. "Nobody moves!" Thompson shouted in the enemy language, while Elena approached the helicopter with technical knowledge that allowed her to quickly assess its condition and operational status. The enemy aircrew's shock at being ambushed by the same prisoners they had been sent to hunt provided Elena with the tactical advantage she needed to secure the aircraft without damage to critical flight systems. Her helicopter pilot experience allowed her to understand the aircraft's capabilities and limitations at a glance. "Thompson, this bird is fully fueled and armed. All systems appear operational. I can fly this thing out of here, but we need to move fast before enemy ground forces realize what happened." Elena's rapid assessment of the captured helicopter revealed that while the control layout was different from American aircraft, the fundamental flight principles were identical to her Apache training. Her engineering background allowed her to quickly understand the foreign control systems and navigation equipment. "All prisoners board immediately," Elena commanded as she familiarized herself with the Hind's cockpit layout. "This helicopter can carry all of us, but we have maybe 5 minutes before enemy forces coordinate a response." As American prisoners loaded into the captured helicopter, Elena began startup procedures using her understanding of rotary wing aircraft to adapt her Apache training to enemy equipment. The Russian-designed controls were different, but helicopter flight physics remained constant regardless of aircraft nationality. "Viper, enemy forces are mobilizing ground units and requesting additional air support," Thompson reported while monitoring captured radio communications. "They don't realize yet that we've taken their helicopter." Elena engaged the Hind's weapon systems and began her takeoff sequence, using terrain masking and low-level flight techniques to avoid detection by enemy radar systems. Her plan wasn't simply to escape. She intended to use the captured helicopter to conduct tactical strikes against the prison camp that had held them captive. "Thompson, I'm going to make sure this facility can't hold any more American prisoners. Enemy forces used their helicopter against us. Now we're going to use it against them." The attack on Commander Volkov's prison camp was conducted using tactics that Elena had learned during 7 years of Apache operations, but executed with an enemy helicopter that the camp's defenses weren't designed to counter. The psychological impact of seeing their own aircraft attacking their positions was devastating to enemy morale. Elena's precision strikes eliminated guard towers, communication equipment, and defensive positions while avoiding areas where remaining prisoners might be held. Her helicopter pilot expertise allowed her to deliver devastating firepower with surgical accuracy that demonstrated complete mastery of the captured aircraft. "This is impossible," came Volkov's panicked radio transmission. "Our own helicopter is attacking us. How are escaped prisoners flying our aircraft?" Elena's response was broadcast on the same frequency, her voice calm and professional. "Commander Volkov, this is Captain Elena Delacroix, United States Army. You captured a helicopter pilot, And now you're learning why that was a very bad idea. The systematic destruction of the prison camp took less than 10 minutes, during which Elena eliminated the facility's capability to hold prisoners while ensuring that enemy forces understood the consequences of capturing American aviators. Her tactical strikes were so precise that enemy personnel who survived would forever associate the sound of helicopters with devastating defeat. After neutralizing the prison camp, Elena flew the captured helicopter toward friendly territory using navigation techniques that combined her knowledge of the regional terrain with GPS coordinates that she calculated using the aircraft systems. The flight to safety required maintaining low altitude to avoid enemy radar while navigating through mountainous terrain that challenged even her exceptional piloting skills. Friendly forces, this is Captain Elena Delacroix, flying captured enemy helicopter with 13 rescued American prisoners. Request immediate clearance and safe passage to nearest American base. The radio response reflected the amazement of American controllers who were processing an unprecedented situation. Captain Delacroix, confirm you are flying an enemy helicopter with rescued prisoners. Confirmed, Control. We captured enemy aircraft during prison break and eliminated the facility that was holding us. All American prisoners are safe and en route to friendly territory. Elena's successful escape and subsequent destruction of the enemy prison camp became legendary within military aviation communities. Her tactical use of a captured helicopter to conduct precision strikes against her former captors demonstrated capabilities that exceeded conventional pilot training and proved that innovative thinking could overcome seemingly impossible situations. 6 months later, Captain Elena Delacroix was promoted to Major and awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for her role in leading the prison break and eliminating enemy capabilities using captured aircraft. But more importantly, her actions had demonstrated that American military training prepared soldiers to adapt and overcome even when conventional resources were unavailable. Commander Volkov's facility was never rebuilt, and intelligence reports indicated that enemy forces became significantly more cautious about capturing American helicopter pilots after learning about Elena's escape and subsequent attack using their own aircraft against them. Today, Lieutenant Colonel Elena Viper Delacroix trains military aviators in survival, evasion, resistance, and escape techniques that emphasize adaptive thinking and the importance of understanding that any aircraft can become a weapon in the hands of a properly trained pilot. Her students learn that the most dangerous assumption enemy forces can make is believing that captured pilots are helpless prisoners rather than highly trained warriors who will use any available resources to continue fighting and protect their fellow soldiers. Have you ever been underestimated by people who thought they had you completely under their control, only to prove that your capabilities extended far beyond their imagination? Elena's story reminds us that sometimes the most devastating counterattacks come from those who were dismissed as defeated. The guards who laughed and called her just another captured pilot learned that some prisoners are more dangerous in captivity than they ever were in freedom, especially when they get their hands on the very weapons that were supposed to be used against them. If you believe that true warriors can turn any situation to their advantage, share this story. Because somewhere, someone is being underestimated by their enemies, not knowing that their greatest victory might come from using their captor's own strength against them. Elena Delacroix didn't just escape from enemy captivity. She transformed their helicopter into an instrument of their own destruction, proving that the most dangerous place for your enemies is believing they have you exactly where they want you. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, you can subscribe to see more incredible stories like this one.